Who are those young guys?
Hey, well, how you
So
doing?
introduce yourself.
Yeah, do you know I saw him today as Morton Smith?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's got business.
So,
Coleman safety thing. Yeah. So Stacy and Steve are us.
94.
So they got
Broke down.
so
Yeah, right. Yeah.
let's just
Probably 9. This kid, Rich Beagle, Lou Hibbert, and Jimmy John.
Oh, so they was together?
it's all right.
Mr. Fields?
No,
There you
Jake
go. Thank
Field.
you. Oh, I thought you said Field. I thought you said ours. Okay.
My sister got one.
Thank you. What table are you?
Oh, look at hello,
We did a
Paul.
little in front for Paul.
How you doing? See you. Kathy, stand up.
What's your hobby? Hamburger or hamburger or chicken? Prime rib or chicken? Prime rib. Prime rib or air?
You know what? I don't know.
Hey.
Hi, Jeff.
How are you? Good to see you. What's going on? Were you a cappuccino?
Hey,
Oh, wow.
tough.
That's crazy.
Left to right.
Class of 82, 70. Oh, please. You really class 72?
There. How about you?
My name's too long.
Hold it short.
Yeah, okay. Bill. Hey, Bill. No, William Patrick Greenleaf. Oh, we don't want to. He's right over there. Here I am, right over here. Right over here. Okay, Fister. That's your job, Fister. Don't let Horamus see this. He's not going to see. He's not going to be able to read this.
I'm almost 60.
It's all one great big nothing.
I'm almost 60. And all my answers are it'd be my brother's 54.
My Ling's Law. I didn't even play basketball.
It's all right.
All right.
6.
Who belongs to this?
I'm almost 60 and my first sister was 60.
All right.
Just in case you know. All right.
3 sons, 3 boys, and 3 girls.
It's not even coming in.
You missed it though? Would you have made it if you decided to get a comic book?
I can't even get on there, dude. Throw it down so hard. So much on that. Flagrant foul.
Was that the only time you did it the first show?
Once I can't get on there yet.
It is out.
Oh, what's up with the shrine over
Oh, come on, baby. Just 3 more letters. Coach.
Yeah, just saw him. He was saying about
No.
Hey, Dave, how's it going?
All right. You know that skinny guy?
Al Steenborn.
Steenborn. Jesus. Steenborn. No good guard on the side. Why am I going to drop I-20 in the team room for Christ's sake?
Hey, Matt, you're on TV. Come on.
You know, it was a great honor to be with this Rocco Stagnaro.
Yeah, hey.
Rocco Stagnaro was one of the famous people that I hung out with when I was a kid. Rocco was way ahead of his time. Rocco was a professional boxer, Rocco. And Rocco was way ahead of his time. Rocco. Who's this guy?
Thank you for being here tonight. You did a great job. It's a good turnout tonight. I hope we can have more like this.
Matt, this is the forward of the team that never saw the ball because you shot it all the time. I probably could have been All-American in high school if it wasn't for you and Claudia. Congratulations.
Matt, I'd say something to the video, but I gotta wait for the statute of limitations to end before I can say anything.
How you doing? You put together a great affair. It's good to see everybody, and we still have the good old cappuccino spirit. Best of luck.
Coach Aramis meant a lot to me. We pulled together a great dinner, lots of people, and I think this is what you wanted. You wanted to see all these people and get what you deserve. Thanks for everything, Coach. It was a great night. Dennis Haskins and Jason Malinowski. We deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
Coach, just like to say, it's been an honor to play for you, and I wish you well in your retirement, knowing that there probably will be never anybody to succeed you like you were at this school, but...
That's like that first time at all. Let me be honest.
This is the table with the most talent.
Looking at you, interesting.
in the background. I can't see.
Four Hillsdale players are. Hey, look at this. Matt Burlington, 4 defenders on him. He's still shooting. He won't give up the ball. Right over here to find out where the
5 when the state hijacks good stuff.
Yeah. Are you good?
You get up there, you're illegal.
It was illegal. It was illegal.
Because of you. Because of you.
70, hey, he shot 70. This guy? Right here. 70%. I know. 70. You know the Shaq when they found they grabbed his ballot? Right here. We be dribbled out. That whistle be blown. Oh, what happened?
He didn't do 70. 40%. 40%.
Feeling Cap's never been the same since we all left.
I think he's got Alzheimer's.
He's got Alzheimer's.
Barry? Look, that guy when he just passed the ball, the guy with the beard.
Who knows what we could have done? Tom Starship.
Oh, yeah, with the beard.
Oh, I had a chance to stay.
Charlie Caudill, class of 70. When I was signing in, they asked me to sign my name, and I said, hey, I went to Cap. I don't know how to read or write. What can I say?
Such a great turnout, and we're happy about that. And the second Hall of Fame dinner, we changed the format a little bit. We wanted to, since we don't have an overall school Hall of Fame, we wanted to honor some coaches through the years that all of us have known and should be part of some Hall of Fame. And we have great respect for them and want them up on our board. And when they get a school Hall of Fame someday, you can all be melded together. Anyway, yeah, he hasn't heckled me yet. Okay. First inductees, we'd like them to, now I'm 4 eyes. I was baldy for the first hour. All right. First, I'd like to introduce the Hall of Fame greats we honored 2 years ago. John Condron. Kid Rona left. He's out looking for Carmine, I think. He's been missing for the weekend, I guess. Randy Rothman. Bob Turner. Okay, our coaches from the Hall of Fame. Ernie Snowshoe, Bill Clowney. Coach Ken Lacrosse. And believe it or not, Jimmy is still coaching the pole vault. In fact, he's still progressing the seniors, but Jimmy's the school. I mean, he's been there since '52. He's still coaching there. He's the historian. For you guys who didn't make it this year, he didn't vote for you. We never saw you play ever. No, I'm just kidding. We were going to list the criteria, but we're afraid to assault the podium here. So, but anyway, Jimmy's just one vote, so don't. Anyway, Jimmy Johnson, I think we should give a big round if you notice the program, the caricatures on the front page and the caricatures on the inside of the front page, sure they do. I knew they'd start heckling me. Yeah, thank you. Those were done by a class of '63, Bill Forrest, so big hand for That's my second congratulations. The class of '63 has eight alumni here. We don't have anybody going in the Hall of Fame, so I think we should get a big hand for that. John Capello couldn't make it. I don't know why, but if you notice the jerseys, he did the 5 jerseys. He did the jerseys for the last Hall of Fame. We retire jerseys of players have gone to play Division I basketball. We do make exceptions if that player in college had an outstanding career. So there are some that you might see are Division I. We forgot Krolitich last time, but we even spelled it right this time, so Stagnero's happy. But we'd like to give a hand for John Capello. He's not here, but Jeff Rodriguez, who sat you all at the wrong table, but did a great job setting us up, and Jeff did a great job with all the planning on the dinner.
Good job, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks. Class of '63, that's it. Oh, by the way, Ernie's gonna help the MC.
All right.
Because he's more entertaining. I do have one joke. Just to match his 53, he's going to tell you about that. When Mike Tyson and Dennis Rodman are in a car, who's driving? The policeman. one basketball player. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Ernie now and go to him.
Good to see such a nice crowd. After my last fiasco with that last dinner, I didn't think I'd even get invited back. But, you know, it's up to you. Thank God you had a long cocktail hour. So this is a real attempt at humor. And even if you don't think it's funny, if you laugh, and we'll all move along, and nobody will end up with their forehead in their coffee. We're going to start right out with the coaches. And the first coach that we have here is Mr. Dave Field. You might not know it, but he's in pretty big company. There was a time when a coach named Dick Vermeil coached in this same league at Hillsdale High School, and Mr. Field was a guy who banged heads with Dick Vermeil's coaching, and I can remember seeing the Hall of Fame dinner, and he still remembers the fine team that Dave Field turned out, and an excellent football coach. Now, of course, he's not playing anymore, and he spends a lot of time watching football on TV. In fact, recently, his wife Sue walked in front between him and the TV, opened her robe, and said, "Play me or trade me." It seems now it's gotten to the point of every night when he goes to bed, he gives her the 2-minute warning. But, you know, actually, I'm fortunate. I'm married to a woman who understands. The other day I left the room, I came back in, I said, "What's the score?" She said, 21-14. I said, "Who's ahead?" She said, 21, I think. But anyway, that's enough. Come on, Dave Gill, come up, and here's Peter and Dave Gill.
When I got a letter from Pete that said I was going to be an inductee in the Basketball Hall of Fame, I called him and said, "Are you sure?" And when he said yes, a story that I read a long time ago came to mind. It was about a young kid who was out in an empty lot with a stick and a bunch of rocks. And he threw one up in the air and he swung at it and he said, "Yeah, I am the greatest hitter in the world." So he threw another one up and swung and missed again. He said, "I am absolutely the greatest hitter in the world." He threw another one up and missed again. At which time he said, "Wow, am I a pitcher?" And if I can relate this to what's happening now, I would say I tried hard to be a good football coach 3 or 4 times. Wow, am I a good basketball coach?
Next out of the same mold, another coach, Mr. Baldwin, who helped formulate the winning tradition at Cappuccino, known for excellent football teams and his expertise. I can remember him once after a game, I asked him, "Well, his team didn't play very well. So I thought I would ask him, and I said, "Well, what do you think about your team's execution?" He said, "I think it's a good idea." A hard-working man who believed in keeping his nose to the grindstone, and I think it's really paid off. He's the only person I know who can cut a steak with his nose. But actually, Paul had to fly up there from San Diego, and he was telling me that while on the plane, he happened to sit down to this, next to this young man, and then they were sitting on a plane for a while, and a guy looked over him and said, "You're from Cappuccino, aren't you?" Paul said, "That's amazing. How did you know I was associated with Cappuccino?" He said, "Oh, the magazine you're reading, the way you're dressed, the way you carry yourself." So they sit there a while, and he looked over at the other guy, and he goes, "You're involved with Mill, aren't you?" He said, "God, that's incredible. Really, how did you know?" And he said, "Oh, I saw your class ring while you were picking your nose." Anyway, here to, come on, Paul, come on.
Well, I now understand why Ernie was such a great basketball coach. Because no way anybody can be a better dribbler. You know, I've often heard that it is the players that win the games and it's the coaches that lose the games. And you know, after tonight, I think that's a damn true statement. You know, when you get our age, my age, you kind of forget things. But tonight, I just was really proud of myself. A couple guys walked up. It happened to be Bill Murray and Roger Sloan. And I remembered their plays that won the game. And let me tell you, that was a few years ago. And it's just neat. And I didn't know what to expect tonight, but it certainly is a great evening. And I hope I get to return many years in the future. Thank you.
Actually, we have Bill Greenleaf. Actually, Bill and I did a lot of coaching together, and I'm sure, I don't know if I look around the room how many of you were fortunate to be involved with him, but he, certainly in my estimation, because I worked closely with him, he was one tremendous coach. And when I don't know, I just think of the story I read. I think I read it in the top of the sixth in the Examiner. But it was one of my favorite stories, and it's a little bit old. It goes back to the Dallas Cowboys. It only take a minute. But it was Barry Switzer goes to the 49er camp at the time 49ers are winning. And he goes up to George Seifert and he says, "What's the secret?" And Seifert says, "It's easy. You have to have smart players." He said, "What do you mean?" I'll show you what I mean. So I called Steve Young over, and he asked Steve Young, "Who's your father's brother's nephew?" Now, those of you who have a little bit different, you got to think about it. Okay. So Steve Young looks at him and says, "Oh, that's easy. It's me." Oh. So Switzer goes to Dallas, calls Troy Aikman over, and he says, "Troy Aikman, who's your father's brother's nephew?" I said, "Oh, God, can I get back to him on that one?" So they have a break. He goes into the locker room. He sees Deion Sanders. So he says, "You know, Coach asked me this crazy question. Who's your father's brother's nephew?" Deion Sanders says, "That's easy. It's me." So in the afternoon, Aikman goes back to Schweitzer and he goes, "Coach, I've got it. It's Deion Sanders." And Schweitzer looks at him and says, "No, you idiot, it's Steve Young." Anyway, I hear Bill is playing a lot of golf. In fact, he plays almost 7 days a week. Bobby was getting upset by it. She asked the priest, "Do you really think, is it a sin for him to be playing golf on Sunday?" The priest said it's a sin for him to be playing golf any day of the week. Then one day he had a caddy. The caddy kept giving him advice and he kept screwing up. So he comes over and he says to the caddy, "You must be the worst caddy in the world." The caddy looks at him and says, "I doubt it. That'd be too much of a coincidence."
Last time I saw Dave, he said I'm the reason he got thrown out of camp. I can count. There's another teacher, there's another teacher. Sometime around the 1st of March, I ran into one of the Barnes twins. I think it was Kurt. Kurt, here I thought. Kurt, excuse me, yeah, Keith. And he asked me, he said, who's going to present you at the awards meeting? I heard you're going to go ahead and be in the Hall of Fame. And I said, yeah, I don't know. I haven't given it any thought. He said, well, you could have Don McClure, you could have Vince Markey, or you could have Paul Baldwin. And I said, well, yeah, I don't think I really want those guys. And so we said, well, why don't you go ahead and have Jimmy Johnson then? He can go ahead and help you out. And Baldwin and Markey. I said, okay, that would be okay, but I think I'm just going to let this whole thing fly. And we'll just see how it goes that particular evening. And then I thought about it a little more. I said, I don't want any one of those guys to go ahead and help me out. And so the reason for that is that I was coaching track one time with Jimmy Johnson and with Paul Baldwin and with Vince Markey. And where was I going with the story? And I just had it a minute ago. See, that wine was good.
The wheelbarrow.
Yes, the wheelbarrow, that's right. So what happened was Jimmy wanted to run an 880 relay. And he wanted 2 teams to run, but he only had 7 guys. So he needed one more guy, and he looked at Baldwin, and no, he won't be able to do it. He looked at Markey, and he said, no, he can't do it. And so he said, Bill, you go ahead and run it. And so, hey, I was about 28 years old that time, just out of college a little bit. I was in great shape. I figured I could go ahead and handle this. And so Jimmy has me running the second leg. With, I can't remember who was running against me. But we each had to run 220 yards. Well, Jimmy shoots the gun, and the first guys take off, and I'm over on the other side with this real good quarter miler, I think it was. And the other team comes in, we go ahead and take the batons, and he goes out in front of me just a little bit. And I said, okay, that's fine. I'll just get right in his shoulder. Won't have any trouble at all with this. And we going up around the curve. We only run in 220. And I figured to myself, okay, now as we come off this turn and hit into the straightaway, I'm going to board on. And I'll go ahead and get this guy. And so we come off the straightaway, and I'm pouring it on, and he's pouring it on, and he's going farther than I, faster than I. And so I'm getting ready just to hand off the baton, and I make a lunge, and man, I hit the turf, and I just scratched myself up. Oh God, it was terrible. And that was the end of the relay. I mean, Jimmy didn't even run anymore. I went in, cleaned myself up in the gymnasium, and the next day I'm in my first period Latin class with Matt Krotich. One of my Latin students. So I'm in the first period, and 15 minutes into the period, and in walk 2 guys. One of them is wheeling a wheelbarrow. And he leaves it right there, and the other guy announces that Mr. Baldwin sent us down, And he says if you need to get around, perhaps you can get a couple of your students to wheel you around for the rest of the day. They're nice guys. So, second period starts. Second period starts. And in comes a kid, two kids again, and this time one of them has a first aid kit. And he sets it on my desk and he says, Mr. Johnson sent this down, and I thought you might be able to use it during the day. Third period, same thing comes, and this time it's, look at it up. No, it was a stretcher that they'd gotten out of the nurse's office, and this kid says, we need this wheelbarrow that you keep the stretcher and they can carry you around in that for the rest of the day, and then you can take it back to the nurse. Well, they went on that particular, I think I won't get my nose up, Paul. So, I practice this with my wife too. Thank you.
Do I look better? All right, Mr. Baseball, it's your turn. Cappuccino's Mr. Baseball. Don LeClerc has had players go on to the major leagues. Coached there for many, many years. Funny, I was talking to him tonight about this great pitcher he had. And I said, God, that guy was really great. He said, he's lucky. I said, lucky? What do you mean? He says, he only pitches when the other team doesn't score any runs. But Don now is retired too, and as I said, I got a late start, so I got some of these old jokes. But in his retirement, he thought he would raise chickens, so he went out and bought 100 little chicks. They all ended up dying. Best he could figure is he planted them too close together. So he's got a thing for chickens. So this guy is walking down the street, and he's got a sack over his shoulder. And he said, what do you got in the sack? And the guy said, chickens. And he said, well, if I guess how many, can I have one? The guy looked at him and said, sure, you can have them both. Don guessed 5. Anyway, that's it up. Once again, an outstanding coach, Don LeClerc.
You're going to be there for me? It's really an honor to be here. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate all the effort you put into it. Thanks a lot. Some years back, when we first got a television set, we used to watch Groucho Marx in a program called You Bet Your Life. And one time, you're probably not as old as I am, so you probably won't recognize the name. One time he had as a guest on the program Red Saunders, who at that time I think was the football coach at USC or UCLA. I didn't know which one. Paul there, he's the Cal man. And Groucho Marx said to him, what is it that you attribute your success? And Saunders, who was kind of a cool guy, responded with the statement, the horses. And that kind of really lost Marx. He didn't dig it at all. He was completely lost. And he had to explain to him that, you win if you get the right kids. And the one thing I can say really sincerely, looking back on my career at Cat, I had a lot of great horses come my way, and it was great years. And my success can be attributed to the horses. Jimmy and I both boxed at San Jose. We had a great coach. And he was a great sports philosopher. Jimmy would know as well as I do. And he used to say to us all the time, there's always a guy bigger, better, faster than you are, just around the corner. You can't win them all. But he said, the one thing I want you to really realize is that you can walk away from a victory and not play very well and not feel too good about it. But you can also walk away from a defeat where you face the guy around the corner and you know you did your very best. And that's really important. I hope I gave you my very best. Thank you.
Next we have a very good friend of mine, Coach Markey. Actually, I'm really proud to be his friend, and it's not easy being a man's only friend. And as good as he looks, he is getting older. He recently went up to Reno, he was playing the slots, and he kept getting free prunes. But, you know, he does look good. We were walking down the street, these two women look over him and said, boy, Vince, you still look cool. He looks at them and says, you don't look so hot yourself. But when he stands up, you're going to see he has changed a little bit, because up in Sonoma we have an annual award. It's called the Dickey-Doo Award. And I don't know how many of you know what the Dickey-Doo Award is, but Vince was its recipient this year. It's really a very simple award. It's given to the man in Sonoma whose stomach sticks out further than his Dickey-Doo. Vince, come on.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being the great athletes you were. Thank you for being the great students you were. I had a great time, and thank you for honoring me and for earning something that you usually should know what this is.
Nominee and recipient, the man I knew for a short time at Cappuccino, unfortunately just recently passed away, Carl Luder. And for those of you who ever had anything to do with Carl, you know that this is really a loss. He was a great man, a great teacher, and as I say, a great loss. And tonight, we have some members of his Nancy family. Is it Nancy and Chris Luder?
Just a brief word. Dad was so looking forward to being here tonight, and it meant a lot to him to be a Cappuccino Mustang. I remember as a kid growing up that he just loved being at Cappuccino High School. In fact, so much so that when I was able to, when I was ready to go into high school, he had made arrangements with the clerks that maybe I would go to Cappuccino even though I was out of the district. And part of that was because he loved Cappuccino High School so much. And he just loved Hugh Staines, as he used to say.
My name is Nancy Luder Misra, and I was one of those Luder kids who used to sit up in the stands and watch the Friday night football games before people stayed at home to watch football. And I recall when I was about 8, 9, 10 years old, and Mrs. Field was helping me realize that it was quarters, not innings, in that game. One of the high school girls turned around and looked at me and said, "Are you Coach Luder's daughter?" I said, "Yes." And she replied, "Is he as mean at home as he is at school?" And I didn't quite know what to say to that. Now, many years later, when I was a student at Santa Clara, and I came up one day to the office at Cappuccino to pick up Dad, and I walked in the front door of the office and asked the student who was at the front desk if I could see Mr. Luder. And he looked at me and he goes, "Oh, you mean Uncle Carl?" And that's really indicative of how Dad changed through the years at Cappuccino. And I just want to thank all of you alumni at Cappuccino for softening up Dad through the years. So it made it a lot easier on us. Thank you.
I'm oldest son Tom, and it wasn't soft with him. I can remember many, many fond memories of Cappuccino. When I was in 7th and 8th grade, I was big. And I got to be with the managers on the sidelines with my dad, with the football teams at that vintage. I graduated in '66 from Carmel. And Dad's comment many, many times was, "Boy, I'm glad we're in different districts." Nancy and Chris will attest to the fact that I got to make all the mistakes and they got to do everything right. I don't feel bad because of that. But Dad was really, really wonderful. I do remember many, many things about Cappuccino and his times there. He said one time, he says, "You know, I commuted with Julia McGill for 20 plus years. And he says, I never learned Spanish." Go figure. Of course, those of you that knew Julia McGill probably figured out why he never learned Spanish. I can remember one time in all the years of my dad's coaching, and this was the kind of guy that I saw, and maybe you saw it too, that he never chewed on somebody. He always asked them, "Do you understand what you did wrong? Do you understand how to correct that?" And I want you to know that I am a fire captain in Alameda County, that I have used that many, many, many times. That is a gift that I have from my father. I will say one time I saw borderline anger and upset, and that was Cappuccino was playing, I believe, Jefferson. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dave. And the goal was to take Johnny Brown out. Take him out at the knees because that was the star running back. And there was a 3 versus 1 pileup on the sidelines, so it was a little ugly. And I'm sitting in the stands as a young child, watching my father jump in the middle of it with their green sport coats and their tan gray slacks. And bodies were flying left and right. And I couldn't understand what was going on. My father was ejected from the game, Johnny Brown was ejected from the game, and the 3 other individuals from the other team were ejected. And we had a long talk about why that happened and what he saw. So, anyhow, I digress just a wee bit, but we've had an interesting time as a family, and I want you to know that the Carl and Betty that you knew, and if you didn't know them, you missed something very special. Has allowed us to pull together as a family for this past month. The motor vehicle accident was on the 11th. Carl passed away on the 25th, and my mother-in-law passed away on the 26th. But without that family strength and those role models that those 2 people gave us, and that all of you encouraged through the years or supported Dad, I want to thank you. And he is a piece of cappuccino that will always be there. And though his death is untimely, this honor was bestowed upon him before that. And it only makes it more important to us as a family. And I want to thank all of you for us being here tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay, it's time for the players. We don't have introducers this year. We wanted to shorten the time. We didn't know Bernie would have so many gags to present. We've heard a lot of them before. There was some new material, but I don't know. Anyway, the players. Again, the first 6 that went in 3 years ago were on a certain level that we felt an outstanding level. And these next has been 3 years, so we upped the amount of inductees, and we still have a lot of players out there that were first team All-League and outstanding players that in the future will be entering the Hall. But anyway, here we go. 1954, the first All-League player in Cappuccino history. He's on a cruise with his family when I sent the letter, so Fred Heichel couldn't be here, but Larry Ingalls is going to accept for him. So Larry?
Yeah, Fred called me and asked me to do this for him, and he felt real bad that he couldn't be here. And I guess he was a point guard before point guards, right, Mr. Claude? And he was, don't tell anybody that I said this, but he deserved this.
Our second inductee, I've been at awards banquets calling our outstanding point guard the only 4-year starter in Cap history. Well, I'm wrong again. At the start of the school, Roger Solom was the first 4-year varsity starter. And he went on. He was a great set shooter. I didn't get to see him play. The first game I went to at Cappuccino was John Condren, and Kit Rona was a junior, and it was a great experience for me. And then I learned about all the rest of the guys from those guys, and so they were legends in my mind. But the past 2 dinners, it's been great meeting them, and great players in Cappuccino history. Anyway, Roger Solom.
Larry, you want to do this for me too? First of all, I'd like to thank the coaches that were responsible for helping us not only become good players, but I think built a lot of character, like Jimmy Johnson and Paul Clark and Paul Baldwin. So I'd like to say that first off. Secondly, I'd tell you a little bit about what happened to me after I left Cappuccino High School. I had the good fortune or the bad fortune of picking the University of California, which I got in on probation and couldn't play my first year. My second year, I played freshman ball there for Ranger Rarius, who had coached at St. Ignatius. And I finally made a position there, and I got the start on the freshman team. I played with a guy named Daryl Imhoff. You might remember him later as playing for the Detroit Pistons, Los Angeles Lakers, and he was the guy that guarded Will Chamberlain when he got 100 points. And we played for Pete Newell, and Pete Newell was a great defensive coach, so, you know, in all fairness to Daryl, he didn't get a lot of fouls early in the game, and he didn't guard well the whole game, but he's pretty famous for that anyway. I guess my misfortune was that I picked a school that was an NCAA championship team. And I picked a coach that was known for his defense. He was sort of the innovator of the full court press. He was a big man coach, and he still has big man schools where he teaches Shaquille O'Neal and players like that, and the drop step and a lot of different things. And he didn't like outside shooters. So I didn't get a chance to play too much. But I never got cut. That was my claim to fame. The other thing was, he's a great defensive coach. And I don't remember any of the coaches at Cappuccino teaching me how to play defense. So it was all offense. Anyway, I looked around at the memorabilia here tonight, and I thought, boy, would I love to do this all over again. You know what I do now. I'd like to be about 6 inches taller, have arms about 4 inches longer, be able to jump about 47 inches, and I figured then I'd come back as Michael Jordan.
Busy.
But anyway, I appreciate the chance to get up here. Basketball's changed a lot. I read on the internet the other night that Michael Jordan's commercial sponsors are inserting a little thing into his contract that says they don't want him to involve in his team. Somebody asked me why. It's because they don't want him to associate
No,
with
mother,
gangsters.
I'm busy.
Very good. I was just thinking, talking about coaches, poor Bobby Knight. You know, the guy's not even an ex-coach yet, and he still gets all this heat. You'd think the guy would form an annual hunting trip for all of his ex-players. That might solve a lot of his problems. I know as an ex-player, it seems like the obscene phone calls and the threatening mail was beginning to subside a little bit. Some of the players attacking me here tonight when I came in. But it's not all the coaching. Have you ever heard that story Lee Trevino said, the older I get, the better I used to be? Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys around the room that I've talked to over the years are going to relate to this. The truth was, it was a nothing to do practice game at Lick Wilmerdine High School. And you had an uncontested 10-foot jump shot that put us up by 6 points with 45 seconds to play to shoot an air ball. So you're despondent, you basket hang, we get the ball back, throw it back down to you, and you make a layup. 10 years later, I talk to you, and pretty soon you're talking about how you broke the double team, and then you laid back, and you had to put the ball up over, and then 20 years later, now we're getting down to where you're throwing a fadeaway 30-footer over a 6'6", outstretched arms, 2 seconds on the clock, and of course, it's to beat Mills. It's always to beat Mills. The way I figure it, we've beaten Mills in the last seconds about 117 times. And I don't think we played them that much. But anyway, for the next recipient.
Where was I? Okay, our third inductee. Where's my notes? Joke on Vietnam, he's got an accent. Player of the year, a fine player at CSF, a great baseball player, but a Hall of Fame basketball player, and I heard a lot of his legend over the years. And our third inductee is Roger Locke. Roger? And just yesterday, Rich Jeffries was bragging about getting a hit off you in the Bill Arcee baseball school.
First of all, I must tell you, I was born with a basketball in my hand, I think, because my father was a janitor when I was a 2- and 3-year-old child, and he had a high school he used to have to clean the gym with, and I would go down there every evening, and while the team was practicing, and of course they would hold me up over their heads and try to make me make a shot, and I learned how to dribble a ball and everything else. This is in the state of Illinois. By the 2nd grade, I was playing on elementary school there. It was a town of 350 people, and all the farm kids came into town to school, and we had a basketball team. But in that state, from the 2nd grade to the 6th grade, you had one team, and the 7th and 8th grade was the second team. Well, we traveled as much as 50 miles, and I learned to play a pretty good game of ball at a young age. We had state tournaments, and actually when I was in the 6th grade, we went to the state tournament. We didn't come anywhere close, but we got the opportunity at least to go there, and that was quite an honor. I learned the farmers, they used to all come to the games, and I learned at an early age to play in front of crowds. Sometimes as many as 200-300 people would be at an elementary school game. It's kind of scary at first, but when you come to Cappuccino, and my goodness, the school is larger than the whole town. And I'll never forget, I went out for football, and I made the team as a defensive back. And I think the second play of the game, I got hit in the nose, and the blood was running down my jersey, and Don Leclerc saw me, and he said, "Kid, come over here. What are you doing out there?" And stuff cotton up my nose, and I said, "How am I going to get back in this game? I don't want to lose my position here." And it was a challenge because all the players were good. And everybody at Cap was trying to be better than the other person. And I learned at that age that you had to be a real competitor. I went to school to play ball. Football, basketball, baseball. I didn't think much about grades because I was more interested in sports. And I'm sorry about that. It affected me later in college, of course, and if I had to do over it, I'd probably paid a little more attention to grades. But I must thank the coaches first. The coaches made me what I became. We had great coaches. And I have to tell you, the players, we had great players. It was a team sport. And every game and every sport I played in, we played as a unit. We played together. There wasn't fighting amongst the players or, big arguments and stuff like that. What was the best about that, and I remember my freshman year, we were playing in the finals game of basketball at Jefferson, and this kid, Jimmy Stewart, I fouled with 4 seconds left, and we lost the game on his foul shot. And I'm crying in the locker room, and the rest of the guys are going swimming in the swimming pool, and Jimmy come up to me and he said, "Look, that's going to happen, you're going to have to learn to live with that kid." And I developed at that time the win and understanding of how to take a win and a loss. I love to win. I played to win. And in my life, in my career, in my job, I use my job with everybody I deal with as a team. And everybody, we work together. And it has helped me, because of my younger years, become a team player. And if everybody does that, I think you'll go a lot further in life and be a lot more successful. And I'm very proud of the fact that Cappuccino, it was a great, great place. And thank you for honoring me. I'm not certain that I really belong up here, but I'm just proud as heck to be a part of the members of the rest of this group. Thank you.
Okay, our fourth inductee was, as Coach Jeffrey says, a leaper. When he was at CSM, he held Cornell Green to 15 points, and I guess at Contra Costa, Cornell Green, who later played with the Dallas Cowboys, was averaging over 30 points. Fred was Player of the Year in the PAL. He's the last guy I didn't get to see play that's on this list, but I know when Roger's talking or Roger Solon's talking, from the time I went to Cap, we had Turner and Rothman teaching us little guys to shoot, but we also would hear stories of the other players, and from the speeches last time, it was pretty important to all of us. I think you can tell from the way they speak about it, and we admired them and never even saw them play. But Freddie's the last that I didn't see play that's going in tonight. I'm sure there'll be others. Fred Gomes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, ex-coaches and players. I'd like to congratulate all the inductees tonight. I know you're all worthwhile of that honor. I've seen some of you play. I played with some of you. I guess when Pete called me about a month ago, and he really shocked me and said, "You're going into the Hall of Fame at Capital." I mean, with the likes of Conlon, Bossage, Turner, Rona. I said, "Yeah." I said, "This is a great honor for me. I'll never forget it." So after I talked to him, kind of sat back in my easy chair and thought about my 4 years at Cappuccino, 54 through 57. And what came to mind to me the most was the Cappuccino spirit. We had the best spirit of any school in the peninsula. We didn't win all the games, but if you went to a night game there, you could hardly find a seat. You would have to stand up at some occasions. I remember, playing with John and Bill and some of the guys here. It's just great. I mean, when that school was cheering for you out there and they're playing the school song and you were just getting ready to go out to your green and gold warm-ups, the adrenaline was pouring so much in you. It was an unbelievable feeling. Feels like you could jump about 10 inches higher than you normally would. I guess the next thing I remember was my senior year there. We were predicted by most of the sports writers to win the league. Unfortunately, we didn't accomplish that achievement, but we did have a respectable season. I remember Coach Johnson had 3 teams from San Francisco, probably the best 3 teams there scheduled on the season. We had Holly High, who hadn't lost a game. They came down here and we gave them a heck of a toss. I'm sure John will remember that. We didn't win it, but we came close. The next team that came to mind was Lowell High School with a fellow named Tom Sherry, who went on to St. Mary's to be All-American and also played for several years with the Warriors. We did beat them in front of our own home court there. And the last one, I remember this very vividly, was St. Ignatius High School. And they had an All-American named Fred LaCour on that team. I remember one incident in that game where he was on a solo fast break, and yours truly was back there by himself, the only one back, standing about at the middle of the key. He came full board dribble straight at me, gave me one head fake. I went completely across the floor, and he went in for an uncontested layup. I said, "This guy is an All-American. He's the greatest I've ever seen." I'd like to thank Jim Johnson especially for his 4 years. He was my only basketball coach in the 4 years. He did a wonderful job. He's a wonderful man as well. And I want to make this short because there is one incident that I'd like to tell you about. It was, we were just wrapping up a practice one time and Coach Jim Johnson came over to me and he said, "You know, if you were shooting 50% of your free throws, you would be leading the league right now." And I said, "Okay, Coach, I'll stick around a little bit and practice." So I did about 3 minutes. Everybody had gone down and taken a shower. I did about 3 minutes of free throws and I started practicing my dunk shot. Then walked Paul Clodden. He was the principal of our school at the time. For you younger people who don't know him, he was also the very first varsity basketball coach. He said, "Hey, Fred, throw me the ball." You always throw it to the principal. You never did not do that. So he was out by the sideline, like 30 feet away. He said, let me take one shot. I said, "Sure." So he took the ball between his legs with 2 hands, all of the Wilt Chamberlain, Rick Barry style free throw. And I thought to myself, he's not going to hit the rim. He didn't. It was all net. He said, "Thanks, Fred. I'll talk to you later." I stood around about 5 minutes scratching my head. Anyway, I'd like to thank the committee for giving me this prestigious honor. my fellow players who made it possible, and a special thanks to Jim Johnson.
For the younger people here, they have varsity. Well, it's changed a lot. Intermission? No, no intermission. They used to have frosh off and then varsity. Now they have frosh off at 3 o'clock and then 2 girls games and a varsity game. But in the old days, we used to have what we called 30s basketball, and it was a great league. We had seniors who were not big enough sometimes to be on the varsity team. It was all exponents, and we decided, the committee, to honor a 30s player that was big in Cappuccino history. And I remember him being on a 14-0 Chem lacrosse team, about their 5th straight championship or 4th straight championship. And later on at weddings, we'd argue with Ken who was the best 30s team. But they were undefeated. I think we were 17-1. But it was a great league, and we'd go up and play Washington in the city. And I know most of the guys in the Hall of Fame varsity were once 30s stars and players. And we want to honor Dave Cotta, 1960. Dave?
I was similar to other inductees. When you get the call from Pete, you think, oh my word, what did I do? Such a thing. And then you even have to go to the yearbooks to start looking up faces and names that you even played with. It's so far back. But I think one of the things that this list honors is it's been said, all the players at Cap were great athletes. You're only recognizing the sport of basketball here, but these guys were good not only in basketball, baseball, football. And one of the themes that runs through a lot of the discussions tonight is what a great bunch of athletes that Sam Bruno produced over these years. And I assume they continue to produce. I lived in Denver, so I'm not up on the latest news here. But you have a number of schools. You might not think of it, but St. Bruno's, Bel Air, Edgemont, St. Robert's, I said, Northbray. Yeah. They all come together. They all come together out of San Bruno. And then Taylor High School, for the time, that was coming into high school out of Millbrae. They produced some fine athletes. And although Pete keeps saying, you know, I didn't see this guy play and I wasn't able to see this guy play, I've seen all these guys play. I'm class of 60. But when we were in St. Bruno's, we used to practice down at Northbray. And after practice, we'd all get in our parents' cars. My dad coached us down there. And we'd drive over to Cap, 57, or even earlier. My sister was going over there. And we'd see all these guys play, and it was a thrill, absolutely a thrill to see them play. They were the biggest guys we ever saw in our life. Even as I graduated, they always looked big to me. They don't look so big now. But at the time, they were stars in their day, because you have to remember, there was no nationally televised TV, college, or whatever. These were the guys you'd go to on Friday nights and go watch them play. And they were great. You look up to them. Roger Locke, I've known him a long time. John Condren went to school with them, played in the playgrounds with these guys. So it's just wonderful to be up here and to be recognized as a fine player. But there's an awful lot of fine players that came before me in the 30s. I just represent one of them. So I appreciate it. Thank you all. Okay, it's time for for the Letterman show and the top 10 list. We're not talking about Dave Letterman, we're talking about the Cappuccino Letterman top 10 reasons why you're not in the Hall of Fame. I roamed the room tonight, just listened to all of the players, and anyway, these are the 10 top reasons why you're not in the Hall of Fame. Number 10, you didn't vote for yourself for captain and or outstanding senior. 2, you played for a coach who thought the drop bounce was high-powered offense. That's me, I love this kind of this dribble off. The only point I find out.
Number 2.
When Jimmy went down for coffee, you went with him. Your shorts were so tight, you talked like this. Number 6, by the time you were a junior, your mother was attending PTA meetings under an assumed name. When Coach Johnson went like this, you went like this. All the words, number 4, we're down to number 4. All the words in your tattoos were misspelled. Number 3, when the coach yelled, double up, you grabbed your stomach and bent over. Number 2, your mother was short and so was your father. And the number 1 reason you're not in the Hall of Fame, you never figured out that Carl Reno was not the coach.
Our next 2 inductees, the Kaufman brothers. Dave played in '64, and I played with Dave. He went to St. Mary's. A couple games we went over, and he averaged, a couple games he had over 30 points for them. We'd go and visit him in the varsity game. He'd take an Ebony magazine and throw it from the second deck onto the court. He used to take me home to Crestmore and drive around on the front lawn in front of the front room window. So Dave was a character, a great free spirit. He transferred to Stanford to play down there. He always dreamed of playing at Stanford, and died tragically in a car accident at the end of his first year when he was redshirting there, sophomore year at Stanford. Jimmy, his brother, was a great athlete. Like someone was speaking up here. The guys at CAF were 3-sport guys, and I think Jimmy long jumped 23 feet or 22 feet. He played defensive back for 2 Rose Bowl teams at Stanford. He was a great basketball player. And he's in Italy teaching. He sent a letter that I'll quickly read. And I think it sums up what he thinks. Dear Pete, by life's good fortune, your note in the Cap Hall of Fame evening found its way to our place here in Florence, Italy, where we've been hanging our hats the past 10 years. Can you believe it? Wow, I can hardly believe it myself. Needless to say, in which I'm proud to say my son Casey's currently playing at Stanford. I'm very proud to be a member of this great b-ball club at Cap. As far as Dave's induction, of course, this gives me another kind of satisfaction, and in many ways even more special, considering his untimely and tragic death less than 2 years after his graduation from Cap, and his basketball career not yet over. As you might recall, he was sitting out his mandatory 1-year sit-out after transferring from St. Mary's to Stanford. It will forever remain an unknown as to whether he would have made it at Stanford, but this will have to remain one of life's mysteries. I think the thing that distinguishes Dave's play, and for which those who watched him, or like yourself who played with him, will remember, was his flair for the sport, especially his 25 to 30-foot long, high-arching set shots that he so often swished through to the crowd's delight. Some years ago, I reflected on this penchant for the long shots that he, and to some extent, I preferred. The explanation may just lie in the fact that, as you might recall, up at our house in Millbrae, we had that court in our front yard. For years before we paved the area, it had big tree roots that pushed up through the key area that would diligently sweep clear before playing. Out around the perimeter, however, the ground was smooth and you could take a couple of dribbles without the ball ricocheting off some root or another before going up with your shot. And I'm convinced that's why we were both better shooters from 25 to 30 feet than from 10 feet. As a young brother, I of course admired my older brother, looked up to him, and strove to be as good. I know I owe a lot to him for what I myself accomplished. Again, I'm very pleased to hear of our selection. We very much wish to be there and wish all of you involved with Cap basketball, especially that great group of coaches. In our case, Jim Johnson, Ken LaCrosse, and Ernie Snurfield. A congrats, and to all of you, the very best for a great evening together. All my best, Jim Kaufman. This is, okay, 1968 was Roger Carmine. Is, Sal, you want to say something, or?
Roger can't make it tonight for personal reasons, but Dan would like to talk to him if he can.
Yeah? Okay.
Roger was special. You ever hear the word the natural? From the time probably Roger was born, he was special. He was larger, he was bigger, and I've known him for a long time, and he was always the guy who could be anywhere. He could pick up a dart and throw it in the center of a dartboard. He could. The only thing he can't do, thank God, is pick up a golf club. I'm so proud of that, that I can beat him at one sport. But it's only for a moment. It's only for a short time. Roger is a special pick I think you've made here, because he was such a great athlete. And that's what you're all talking about. We're sitting here with people who know about great athletes, who have coached great athletes. And Roger was this special guy. He's not here tonight, not because he's not proud of being here tonight. He's just not proud of having all of this, even though it's a minor thing. He just can't do this. But, I don't know. Jimmy, was he a great player?
Great.
Was he a great baseball player? Where's the clerk?
Right here.
Was he a great baseball player? Is there anybody who can say that he wasn't fun? Yeah. And he was a good card player. And he's a good friend, and he's a good person, and he's glad to be one of you guys. And I'm glad to be his best friend. Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Krulitich. I try to get a lot more heckling from this deal. He did, before I introduce him, he was a great baseball player. He was a great basketball player. We slighted him the last time. We misspelled his name. Stagnero let me know about that. We didn't put his Gales jersey up. It's a nice time to mention the jerseys. Again, I've given you the criteria, but Matt's is going up as he played at St. Mary's. Brad Foss couldn't make it tonight, from Cal Davis, who was Player of the Year in that league. And that's why we're honoring him on the wall. Roger Sobel with Cal, all of the great players. And Ramon Rivera, who was a star at Chamonix and at Kenyatta and at Cappuccino. Did a great job. With St. Mary's, Curly did tell me one story. When he was a junior, he was playing for Bruce Hale, who, if you remember, was Rick Barry's father-in-law. So they went on their first road trip, and the curfew was at 11. And of course, Matt was out about 1:30 on the dance floor. That your story? I knew it. I should have asked him before. I'm not finishing it. I'll let him finish it. But a great player at Cap and St. Mary's, let him finish that story. And here's Matt Krolitich.
You know, I want to thank everybody here. I want to thank Ernie and Jimmy Johnson, who were great coaches. But you know, when I got here tonight, I realized what greatness I had around me, my teammates. Like Vince Repetto. Did you know that Vince Repetto was an Oprah Winfrey? Did you know that? Yeah, he was one of the first people on Oprah Winfrey. He had a transplant from a goat. What was it? That's a vesicle transplant. He was one of the first ones. He was a great teammate. And then, of course, I played with Gary Hernandez. Gary, not Keith. Gary. And did you know that 2,200 career hits both of them have in the major leagues? Of course, Keith had 2,200 of them. So I was always surrounded by greatness. Always. And then, of course, one of my real close friends, Rocco Stagnaro, who I played baseball with at Cappuccino. He was a professional boxer. Rocco was way ahead of his time. Rocco was one of the first ones that advertised in boxing. He put on his bottom of his feet, eat a joke. And when Rocco got knocked out, the lights blinked on the bottom of his shoe. Eat a joke. And Rocco made millions of dollars out of it. People from all over the country wanting to advertise on Rocco's feet. But anyway, that was a great, you know, at Cappuccino was a great thing. Like I said, Jimmy Johnson was a great coach. He always told me not to shoot, but what the hell. Then when I went to St. Mary's, as you can see, I ran up with Bruce Hale, like I said, and like Peter Amos told you, started the story. The first road trip, here I was, I got a scholarship to St. Mary's. How? I don't know. But anyway, here I am in Loyola, we played Loyola, Chicago. Anyway, I saw some girl in the stands and I said, hey, meet me up at the Holiday Inn after the game. Well, I was told curfew was 10 o'clock. So anyway, it was about 2:30 in the morning. Here I am, draped around this girl, 2:30 in the morning, dancing with her. And all of a sudden, here comes Bruce Hale. Taps me on the shoulder, says, hey. I said, I look up, says Bruce Hale. I said, that's it. It's the end of my scholarship. I've worked all this way. I've lost my scholarship. He looks at me and says, Prilly, if you guard your man that close, you'd be an All-American. And one other story. When I was going to sing, I mean, all my friends know how good I was at the books. They know I'm very intelligent. I mean, oh, please keep it down. But anyway, when I was at St. Mary's, I was having trouble in philosophy. I was really having trouble with the divided line. So I went to Bruce Hale. I said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to be eligible pretty soon. I said, I'm really having trouble with philosophy. So he said, hey, Prilly, here, take 25 minutes. I shouldn't say this. I guess I wonder if we're going to have to forfeit our 4 wins in 1970. But anyway, he says to me, Prilly, here, take $25. Here's a phone number. Go over to the University of California. He says they're going to do a paper for you. So, of course, I went over there, called the guy. The guy does a paper. It weighed about 3 pounds, I think, when I weighed it. So I give it to the father at St. Mary's. I hand it to the father. The father says, take your seat. I take the seat. So he starts reading it to me. And he says, Mr. Krolitich, can you please explain that last line that I read to you? I said, explain it to you. I can't even read it. But anyway, it was a great thing at Cappuccino, and like I said, Jimmy Johnson and Ernie Schnurfield taught me everything I know. Thank you.
Ernie didn't want to follow that one, so he's going to pause for about 2 more selections. No. The next inductee I had the pleasure of coaching when he was younger, and in his last year at Cappuccino in baseball. He was an outstanding shortstop who the Montreal Expos were looking at, and I didn't tell his family, which they scolded me after for not doing, but I always thought his love was basketball. He went on to Menlo College under Bud Presley, and then got a scholarship to the University of Vermont, where he was senior year team captain. I think he averaged 11 or 12 points a game and 11 rebounds a game. And actually, as a junior, he was all-league linebacker in football, but didn't play in his senior again. Again, that theme of outstanding all-around athletes. Matt Thompson.
Talking now is like singing after Elvis. When I was growing up, the big thing was to play for Cap, and the thing synonymous with Cap was basketball. Again, I remember growing up and thinking I wanted to play Cap basketball, and everything revolved around that. And I really thank everybody here for setting the tradition and setting the standards for people that coming up behind to try and follow. And that was my only goal, was to follow the tradition, to not let Cap down, and then you know, to raise the bar a little bit too, put a little bit back in. And that's all I was hoping to do. I really like to thank Coach Snurfield and Coach Johnson, and especially Coach Ramus. I played for Coach Ramus from 6th to 8th grade. Basically taught me all I know. And it's kind of gone full circle, because now I'm coaching 7th and 8th graders myself, and taking, you know, Cap basketball to where I live, which is up in Sacramento, running diagonal and basic and baseline and all those plays. And funny thing is, they're still working. But I'd really like to thank Coach Ramus, especially when I was headed out to Vermont. He took his personal time with me to help run. You know, they wanted me to come in benching so much, running so much of them, you know, so fast of a mile. And he took his time after work to come and work out with me to make sure I was, you know, I did it. I'm also proud to be going in to the Cap Hall of Fame with my brother Vern, and I just wish my dad was here. But thank you everybody so much.
Next year and years to come, this is the guy we need up here. He did a great job. If you remember Mr. Markey giving this T sign, which of course I learned from lacrosse. I didn't know what it was before then. I used to be pretty hard on officials, but now that I'm a little bit older, I've really mellowed. And in fact, the other night I had a dream. And I walked into this room, and sitting in this room were all of these officials that used to call cross-off games. And I looked around the room and thought to myself, if assholes could fly, this place would be an airport. The following day, I actually saw one of these guys, and I said, you know, you were the second best official I ever had. And he said, oh, yeah, really? And I said, yeah, all the others were tied for first.
And I thought we'd have to censor you. Okay. The next inductee, 1987, another great all-around athlete who had to quit football his junior year after making all-league, because he wanted to concentrate on basketball. He played for me in 1987, 86 and 87. He was our point forward. He did our shooting. He guarded the best player on the other team. He brought the ball up. Vern did everything that year. And Matt Thompson's brother, and the Thompsons are a great passer, just like Matt. And our next inductee, Vern Thompson.
Thanks a lot, Coach. I too just very happy to be here tonight and be a part of this evening. Like the people who have spoken before me, I want to thank everybody who built that tradition at Cappuccino, and I too have very fond memories and a lot of memories of when I was younger. I could, just think back as I was listening to everybody. Being 7 years old, and I remember the game like it was yesterday. Watching Mike Mitchell score 55 points against San Mateo, and just watching my brother play with the many great athletes that he played with, and really good teams, and remembering all that. Sitting with my good friend over here, John D. Felice. I can remember his junior year. I was a freshman, and Menlo School came in. And they were like ranked #1 in the state. That big, I think Eric Revenue was their big center. And they came to Cappuccino's gym. They had their own radio station and everything. And that team pulled off a great upset that night. And I remember the student body storming the floor. And my friend John D. Felice's buddies picked him up on their shoulders, and he took off his jersey and he was swinging it around. And I could just remember that like it was yesterday. For my own personal memories, to kind of like to turn the tables, I appreciate being inducted tonight as being part of Cappuccino's tradition. And I too want to thank a couple people, Coach Nerfo, and his knowledge of the game and teaching me, and also Coach Arenas. Remember, it was an after-school game, and I remember that too like it was yesterday. I missed a 1-1 against MA, and I just felt so bad about it. I remember it was on a Friday afternoon, and that Sunday I was just kind of watching TV, and Coach Raymond came by that Sunday afternoon. I don't know if you remember, Coach, but he patted me on the back, and I was having some shooting woes, and he says, "We're going to figure it out. We'll stick around until we figure out what's the problem is with your shot." And that Monday afternoon, after practice, he says, what we're going to do is we're going to shoot horse tonight. We're going to stick around until we figure it out. And who came in the gym was Mike Mitchell. And we shot till like 10 o'clock that night. And that was one night that I'll never forget. And it was Coach Aramis. I don't even know if Mike was down in LA at the time or whatever, but Coach came up with him, and we shot around that night. It was really a special night. And so I just want to say thanks to Coach for everything he's done for me. And thanks to everybody tonight. Appreciate it.
You ran him right out of here. Where'd he go? All right. The next inductee, only two more. Brian Gomes played for us in '95, and that was kind of a special year. He was, as Jimmy used to say, Johnny at the rat hole on the boards. And he may not have made the first follow shot, but he'd get the second one, the third one, and get it in. And he went on to Kenyatta, where he was all conference. He went to Westmont College and was NAIA All-American first team last year. I believe it was last year. What's more incredible, I guess Westmont had a top 10 players of the last 50 years. And the ninth player was something like 1980. And Brian, the year he graduated, was put on the top 10 of those 50 years. Right now he's in Australia, playing in the league down there. His father told me the first game he had 27 rebounds and 28 points, but he also said I think they have 15-minute quarters, so I don't know. But anyway, that's still good statistics. But Mike Kelly, who played with Brian, is going to accept for him. Mike?
It's an honor to be here accepting this award for a good friend of mine. I know he wishes he could be here tonight. I know he's very honored to be getting this award. He just had one thing. He emailed me yesterday and said, there's just one thing I want you to say, just thank my parents for everything, because there's no way I could have done any of this without them. They're my heroes, and this award is just, this is for them. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Kind of in that theme, last but not least, this player was the second four-year starter in Cap history. Sorry, Roger, but the last 4 years I've been putting him out there as the first, but he's the second. And times have changed. You've heard a lot of the speakers about Cappuccino and the greatest place, and I know when I went there it was a mecca. People from all over wanted to go to Cap. I think they had to get a tow truck to drag Jeffries over to Mills. He's still upset about it. But, I mean, that was the feeling then. And it's changed a little bit. And some of the players, some of the kids who grew up in San Bruno move other places. And it's bad publicity. I don't think anything's changed. Some of the perspective of it, I guess, in the community has. But this kid is special, and he decided to, like a lot of us, that Cap was a special place. And I said if he came there, he'd light that place up for 4 years, and he sure did. He was all county. He's been all league every year. He was all Metro, second team, if you saw that in the Examiner last Sunday. But it's kind of special. Hall of Fames, I think, usually go way back. And the special players before, but in the theme of Brian at Westmont, I think maybe that got in my mind and the committee's mind, but he's very deserving, and he should be in the company he's with tonight. Chris Victor.
Like Coach said, growing up in San Bruno now, you have a choice between going to Cap, going to Sarah, going any school you really want to. And when I was trying to make my choice of which school to go to, I heard a lot about Sarah's rich history and all the great athletes that went to Sarah and came out of there. And you never really heard anything about Cap's history. But when I went to the first Hall of Fame dinner and learned about Cap's past players and his past coaches and hearing them speak, I knew that this school's past and everyone that has been a part of it is really something special. I learned about players such as Kit Rona and John Condren, and of course Mike Mitchell. These players were part of the Cap's reputation in the 50s and the 70s. And then for the 80s and 90s, there were Thompson brothers and Brian Gomes and Ramon Rivera that put Cap on the map. And it's a great honor to be inducted into this Hall of Fame with such great players and to be the first player inducted in this new decade. There are certain things that I remember about my Cap career, such as my sophomore year, we went to the NorCal semifinals. We beat teams with Miramonte, which they didn't even know who we were. They didn't think we had a chance of beating them. And this past year, we beat Palo Alto at their home gym. I got some great memories from Cap, as many of you have. Personal stats, such as like being the scoring leader, three-point champion, they're important, but they're not as they don't compare to the memories from the coaches here and from the players that you get. To Coach Ramus, you're my coach for 4 years, and I think you're keeping the Cap tradition alive. One of the people at that Cap that's trying to do that, and I thank you for your hard work and helping my 4 years become very successful. And I just want to thank you, everyone else here. Thanks.
As you see, we still got a lot of classy kids going to Cappuccino. So Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. I hope you come the next time. And the next time, well, like I said, somebody asked me that, and I said, notice we only invited ex-administrators. No current ones were invited, so it might be next year. But who knows? Anyway, thank you for coming. I have one announcement. The alumni game's tomorrow. Anybody can still walk or run. 7:30 tomorrow if you like to play.